Hey there, aspiring guitarists. Today I'm going to talk about how my local brick and mortar guitar center has become my favorite place to do business regarding guitars and how that happened. Because I've actually never in the past held Guitar Center as my number one place to do business, although I've always felt like we needed a Guitar Center. So let's get into this, why I feel this way. Well, I'm talking about my local brick and mortar Guitar Center, which is in Birmingham slash Hoover, Alabama. The local manager is Brandon Thomas. There is no payback for this video. No one asked me to do it. I've done it of my own accord because I think it's important. Because I think we're losing sight in guitar stores that are they're in trouble. The online threat is real, and the online threat being real doesn't mean that we shouldn't buy online. I love Sweetwater Musician's Friend, Amazon for beginner guitars. I'm not real crazy. That's my own view about buying higher end or even mid range guitars from Amazon, even though you can return it. They do have their own pluses. Why I feel like Guitar Center is my go-to site now, my local Guitar Center, and I'm gonna tie the online experience in with my local Guitar Center. Why it's now become my number one place, and it's all this that I'm gonna describe to you, and you are welcome to put your comments in the comments, of course. Different people like different things. That's the spice of life. I've always said this is your guitar journey. Well, I'm sharing mine. The biggest thing that Guitar Center has done, if I could sum it up in one sentence, although I'm going to go deep, is customer service. They remember that without the customer, they're not going to exist. Guitar Center had some roller coaster up and down waves that go back through the history. I think most of us don't want to lose brick and mortar guitar centers because of the playing experience and all the other nice things that go with that. I'm not going to go into all that in this video. I'm going to try to stick with what they've done to earn my business. That's the second thing, earn my business. I want to try to stick to Guitar Center as much as I can, but I am going to mention some local mom and pop and other guitar stores. Some of them are affiliated with other musical instruments and things like that, and they all have their place. And I realize some people feel devotion to them, loyalty, years of trading with them, and this, that, and the other. But one of the big factors to add to the previous two of the Guitar Center is they make the trade-in experience as pleasant as possible. At least my local store does. And when I did a video a while back, after Guitar Center came under a lot of criticism from a few statements the CEO made about high-end, low-end, beginner, this, that, and the other, I put out a video about Guitar Center fighting back, and my local Guitar Center has fought back to get my business very respectfully and with a lot of hard work. The CEO also did an interview with Philip McKnight, who has the Know Your Gear podcast on YouTube, and I strongly encourage you to go look up that interview. It was a great interview. And he himself focused on, we can never forget about the customer. My local Guitar Center store manager and his staff are customer oriented. If they drift off that path a little bit, the local manager, Brandon Thomas, very respectfully sets them back on that path. Everything from the way they greet somebody when they come in the door to when they're coming to trade in a guitar or get a guitar refund. He said, and he means it. I've developed a relationship with him over several months. When I'd gotten so mad in the past, I wouldn't even go in there. In fact, it was a phone conversation that I had with him where he encouraged me, well, please come back, give us a chance. And he was brought into the store to kind of help things. He's been with Guitar Center a long time, and he knows his stuff, and he understands how important the customer is. And it's like I heard him saying, and several of the employees, the sales associates were around, the return, refund, or trade-in experience needs to be just as pleasant to the customer as the buying experience. They need to be greeted with respect. Now, I try to help facilitate that, and sometimes I fail. I can go in and Guitar Center graciously, if I buy something online or whatever, offers a 45-day return policy. I try not to abuse that. But I also try to take advantage of it. If I buy something online at Guitar Center that they didn't have in the store to play, I have returned a couple of things. Now, when I walk in to return, I don't need to walk in with an attitude, of like, don't you give me a hard time, because they're going to have to ask some questions like, is something wrong with it? Because they have to note that. They have to make sure it gets repaired, presented properly in their descriptions, things of that nature. But they have to do that too. They have to learn that they can't be snarky to me when I return a guitar. It can't be, well, what's wrong with it? Something like that. Because I'm going to get snarky back. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go talk to the manager. We're going to have a learning experience, and we're going to all get along and go better. Now, I buy a lot of guitars. I trade and buy a lot of guitars. And another reason they make the trade-in buy experience easy, sometimes I'm trading and I get the discount they offer for actually trading in and buying right then and there. And sometimes I just trade in. But I try to be fair about that too. I actually go so far, let me silence that, as to, I actually go so far as to try, when I can, to talk to the manager and say, hey, I got a couple of guitars I want to bring in. Is today a good day? Now, I'm not saying you got to do that. They may not have time, but, I try to be respectful of, how busy they can get and not to add to that burden, because that helps me too when they're not having to work in a hurried pace. So, it's a mutual respect. The sales associates there, they know me. They may poke a little fun, and because they do know me, which is more than happy as long as they don't forget that I'm the customer and that I buy, sell, and trade guitars with them. So I'm one that walks in a store, they'll greet me. I can see 4 people up at the counter, other people running all over the place, associates running back and forth with their packages that they're trying to get to the front and boxes. They're busy. So, I'm retired. I can do this. So I'll just drift off and start playing guitars because I love to play guitars. And then I'll look for when it's not busy. And then I'll walk up and say something on the line of, I got 2 guitars I want to trade in, but I'm looking to buy this, and then I will go to my truck and get the guitars. I don't just walk in to have guitars laid. And I have, because I had already made arrangements with the store manager, and he graciously let me put them to the side. I wait. I realize everybody doesn't have that amount of time, but even if I'm in a hurry, Guitar Center tries to accommodate. They remember that I'm a customer. You can jab me and kid with me and poke fun at me for being old and all the other things that all us old fuddy-duddies get, but they do not forget that I am a customer that buys, sells, and trades guitar with them on a regular basis. So why else has Guitar Center earned my number 1 spot in guitar business? Well, I am not knocking the giants like Sweetwater. They do a great job, especially of shipping. But even as well packaged as Sweetwater and some of the other people can ship a guitar, for me, I can't beat buying it from Guitar Center, um, and then having it shipped to my local Guitar Center store. And the reason for that is, as as great as some of these online people do with shipping, and they should, they have learned how to pack a guitar where there is minimal problem. But it's that final mile. I know that I have one delivery driver that is the best guy in the world. I make sure that he gets a holiday gift for me because he goes so far and out of his way, but I don't always get him. I get some people that, even though my instructions are clear, they'll leave a tall guitar box on my steps. I live by a lake, it is windy, and yes, I've seen them go down the steps after they leave. I actually have a sign. Y'all have seen me use it here with some of my lessons and tips that will like show chords that I will put out. Please do not stand up a tall guitar box. It could blow over. So I can't control that final mile. The final mile is and that's not, I'm not saying that's where all the damage comes when shipping. A lot of the damage comes in warehouses. But my point is, and I'm sorry I took so long, if I have a guitar shipped to my local Birmingham Hoover Guitar Center store, that associate's going to go to the back. He's going to get the box, bring it to the front. He and I are going to look over this box, and he doesn't have a problem with me getting off to the side, opening it up, checking out the guitar to make sure there's no damage right then and there. Then if I do need to return it because something's wrong, we can handle that right there. I instantly get a refund. That they are so accommodating. Now, you may run into a busy sales associate that maybe is not giving you the attention you think you deserve. And I understand that. I've worked in retail before. I've owned retail before. That's hard to pull off sometimes, not to mention standing on your feet all day long can be quite tiring. I've done some hard work in my time where people hired on in the morning and quit by lunch and just flat out said, you can't pay me enough money to do this work. So they're working hard. You can nothing's perfect. Like I said, I'm not perfect in the way I approach people, but they care. They're trying. They see me. I go into Guitar Center. I got a tuner in my pocket. Now, I like some of the phone tuners, but they're hard to hold and hear if I'm trying to tune while I'm playing a guitar. So, so I don't fool with that so much. I like to have my own tuner. I pull it out of my pocket. I put it on the headstock. I've actually left it on a guitar before, and they called me and said, hey, David, we got your tuner up here next time you come back. Thanks. So those are the little things that go a long way. The hands-on experience. And so that means a lot to me. Also, I can buy protection. Now, there's some things I don't want protection in because I do a lot of my own repair work. As you can see, I have a bench back there with tons of guitar tools, StewMax, Music Nomad, where I do my own setups and my own string changes, and I adjust truss rods and pickups and do all that because I enjoy doing that. But they'll do that they'll do a setup, they'll do a bone installation, they'll do all kinds of things, but they also offer a buyer protection that is not that much. I'm not going to buy it on some of my high-end guitars, but I have because it pretty much covers everything. In fact, go to their website and just search on that, in their search button. But like, I bought a guitar Lely, 2 of them the other day for my 1.5-year-old and 3-year-old grandchildren. That's 2 of my many grandchildren. And it's like, if they drop it and break it, I'm covered. So yeah, I don't see things like that so much in the online world now. I'm not even going to go there. I just don't think they can match the way Guitar Center is trying to make sure your guitar journey is a good guitar journey. And I will always say that uh, playing a guitar matters. It matters. If you're going to buy online, you need to be knowledgeable. You need to look at reviews wisely. You need to know what the nomenclature means, what size nut widths you like, especially if you're a collector. Somebody like me who actually, this is a hobby of love. So Guitar Center has gone out of their way to earn my business, and it really does. It really does start with them forming relationships with me and me with them. I don't want to be a jerk to them, and I'm certainly not going to let them be a jerk to me. I'll give you one or two strikes, and then it's time to go see the store manager and go, okay, I don't want anybody to get in any serious trouble, but there might need to be a learning experience going here, and then I'm going to walk away. I don't need to see that happen. Neither would the store manager let me see that happen, because they treat their associates with dignity. But you can also see when the associates gotten a little wiser with things. They want my business. They have events that they sponsor. That's another part of the experience. So I'm not knocking. I'll still buy some things online. But I've also gone to the manager and said, I sure would like to play a whatever. Now, you can't always do it. But he's like, well, I got an order to come in. I'll ask for that. And it's going to be a couple of weeks. Well, fortunately, I'm retired. I can wait a couple of weeks. This is a hobby of love for me. So I don't want brick and mortar stores to go away. The only drawback I have of some of the mom and pops is when they start preaching to me about why they can't do this, why they can't do that, why they can't do the other. Don't preach to me. I've run businesses for decades. You can offer what you can offer, but that doesn't mean I have to accept it. There's going to come a point. I'll tolerate you for a little bit, even when you're kind of insulting. Some people act like you just fell off a turnip truck and don't know anything. I've run businesses for over 3 decades. I know how hard it is to keep the lights running in a brick and mortar and pay employees. And as the owner, you don't get paid. You're paying your employees first and things like that. So I want mom and pops to make it too. I try to, at the very least, buy strings from them or something. If we can't come up with a way to have a transaction that involves me getting a guitar. So I wish mom and pops well. And if you have a niche that you can provide people, and that may be what you have to stick with, I get it. Guitar Center for me has become an overall. I can go in there, I can get tuners, I can get strings, I can get guitars, I can trade in a guitar, I can sell a guitar, I can look at new guitars, I can just walk around and have fun, and I try to be a good guitar customer. I don't play guitar loudly. I get off by myself. I don't bang out. If you do that, that's fine. I would ask, out of courtesy to others, that while you're playing for 30 solid minutes blaring, that you breathe every few minutes to let somebody else at least hear how a chord sounds. So, but I can't control that. And Guitar Center has rooms I can go into and things like that. Sometimes I have to be patient. Some people are loud, and some people need to hear it loud. They're doing a gig or a band and they want to hear it loud. So I get that too. All I'm saying in that little part is be as courteous to others as you can be. So that's my reasons that Guitar Center has become now, and they never have been. I've always gone to them, I've always wanted them to be around. But to me, they're trying hard and they're succeeding. And I hope they continue to succeed. And I realize they're made up of individuals. And all store managers are going to be different. But it very much seems to me, I'll refer back to that video Philip McKnight with the Know Your Gear podcast made with the CEO, that they are trying to make that reach out to all stores. That without customers, they're nothing. They're not going to have jobs. They're not going to be around. So kudos to Guitar Center for trying hard to earn my business and to help my guitar journey to be a blessed one. And I hope your guitar journey is a blessed one. And like I always said, I mean it, happy picking.